This week, Embark, the developers behind the finals, released extensive gameplay footage of Ark Raiders, their upcoming extraction shooter. I've been excited about this game since they announced it, and I've been scrounging up every little detail I can find about this game, including descriptions from playtesters, and today I'm going to give you the lowdown on what to expect with this promising new game. On the surface, you could say Ark Raiders is sort of like Horizon Zero Dawn meets Escape from Tarkov. You've got the extraction element and giant robot things that roam the land. It's a third person, and you'll be fighting other players in addition to the hostile robots to extract your valuable loot. Ark Raiders are people paid to explore the surface of Earth, which has been ravaged by mysterious Ark robots. We don't know too much else about the game's lore other than it's in the future, and I assume more will be revealed while we play. The gameplay showcase starts off in Speranza, an underground human settlement. From here, you can select from multiple zones on the surface to deploy in via a underground tunnel network. Each zone has a slightly different look and feel as well as threat levels. There's also mission-specific items and tasks that you'll have to complete for vendors that are tied to specific zones. A lot of these tasks are also purposely vague to encourage exploration. In the gameplay, it shows players having to infiltrate a specific lab in a building to gather intel, but the game doesn't give them a specific waypoint marker or instructions, so players need to explore and hunt. New vendor missions unlock as you complete them, and based on what playtesters have said, certain mission items spawn at fixed points on the map for all players. So if you're, say, trying to help a friend rank up a little faster, you can give them some tips on where to go. When it comes to player traversal, there's zip lines that players can place and use to get around the map more quickly, but for the most part it is a very much boots on the ground experience. The combat is a little more forgiving than your typical hardcore extraction shooter. Players are highly mobile and take a lot of damage to kill, so you should have time to try and react or escape if you're ambushed. You also drop into a down but not out state on death, so it gives your teammates a little bit of a chance to revive you. Plus, when a player is downed, they launch a flare into the air that's visible to everyone and likely attracts Ark robots as well. That'll be an interesting dynamic in the middle of a firefight. You might have to loot really quickly and get out of there. Now, when you do attract Ark robots, these things are not the brain-dead bullet sponges that we've seen in a lot of other extraction shooters. They patrol pretty much the entire map and come in a variety of makes and models. There's small face huggers that die in a couple of shots. Then there's rolling balls that come in multiple sizes and are almost impervious outside of specific attacks. There's also flying drones, massive spider robots, and I'd imagine even more. Most of these bots require precision shots to effectively kill. The flying drones, for example, need to be shot in their props unless you feel like dumping an entire mag into their armor. Shooting their armor will expose their weak points eventually, but specifically targeting their already exposed weak points or waiting for them to reveal a weak point is going to be much more efficient, and it sounds like efficiency and ammo conservation is going to be a big part of this game. One element of the gameplay that many players were talking about that doesn't necessarily come across in the trailer is the environmental sound. Everything you do makes sound that other players and robots can hear. Obviously, getting into combat will draw attention, but other things like breaking open doors, activating automatic turrets, or even just getting noticed by robots without actually alerting them will cause all sorts of distinct and loud sounds that give away your location. There's even flocks of birds that'll startle and fly away if you get close to them, just like in Hunt Showdown. The robots make tons of noise when they suspect players are nearby, plus they cast searchlights and change color based on how alerted they are. So if you see a bunch of drones in the distance and their spotlights are yellow or red, you'll know that they're investigating or even engaging other players. The amount of environmental threats in this game is really going to make you second guess a lot of your actions and force a more cautious scavenger. Now, as for extracting, there are multiple exit points scattered across each map. As far as I can tell, they're essentially elevators that you have to call in that sound an alarm as they count down to an opening. This alarm, of course, is very loud and will draw attention of robots and players, so naturally it's a risk starting an extraction, and I'd imagine you want to be pretty well equipped. As for some of the finer gameplay details, loot is shared with all players, so whatever spawns in a container is universal for all players. You can play in teams of 3, duos, or solos. Interior and underground areas are genuinely dark, so you actually need to use your flashlight to see. You can use in-game emotes to ask other players to join your party, early in a match, which is kind of cool. Weapons can be equipped with silencers to help avoid detection from robots, but you'll still make enough sound to alert other players. You seem to be able to carry tons of ammo, but it also eats up your inventory space, so you want to balance that with the amount that you can carry. The Esperanza location is an in-game hub zone where you manage your inventory, vendor tasks, and crafting. As you play, you'll gather materials that let you craft gear and upgrade weapons with new attachments. You can also complete vendor tasks to upgrade their shops and progress the game's narrative elements. So depending on what gear you're going for, you might want to progress vendors faster or crafting faster. Some of the better gear you can unlock would be shields that are represented by the blue bars on the heads-up display over players' health. Higher tiers of this armor will give you more bars, which lets you absorb more damage. And based on the feedback so far, it seems to be quite positive. Players are enjoying it a lot, and they call it an easy to get into extraction shooter with plenty of depth. Watching the gameplay, we can definitely see that the visuals are top tier. Embark has certainly proven themselves in the visual department, so I'm imagining a very richly detailed environment. Now, as we've watched this game from its announcement to present, it went from a free-to-play looter shooter co-op thing to a $40 extraction shooter. And honestly, I have no issue with devs changing direction. In fact, I wish more studios were capable of doing that effectively when they realize that their current plan isn't necessarily the best one. But I think too many of us are used to hearing stories of studios just trying to pivot last minute and turn their bad idea into something acceptable, and often it doesn't work out. But I have a feeling that with Arc Raiders, the devil is in the details, where you look on paper and you go, it's an extraction shooter, there's giant robots and other players. Is this that exciting? Maybe not on paper, but when it all comes together in a more cohesive fashion and knowing Embark's skill for world building, visuals, artistry, and just slapping a ton of style onto everything that really sets themselves apart, this could be enough to really make it a new engrossing game, where so many of the other extraction shooters have so much indie jank going on, bad artwork, or they just rely solely on some sort of military aesthetic that doesn't have much else going on other than it's hardcore and you get to shoot an assault rifle with 5.56 ammo. Hopefully Embark can deliver a game that's worthy of its $40 price tag and able to compete with the now saturated extraction shooter market. They certainly surprised me with the finals, so I am very much excited to try this one out. I am curious to know what you guys think about Arc Raiders. Do you think pivoting to an extraction shooter was a good move for them? Let me know in the comments. And if you want to know how well Embark's other game, The Finals, is doing, check out this video here. It is coming along quite nicely. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap signing off.